with very insightful sessions on sustainability, purchase, procurement, and of course the ICC challenge. So to add on to it, we now have a very interesting session on food. And Sir is going to talk about food design. Am I right? Okay, perfect. So introducing our masterclass host of the day is Mr. Swarn Kamal. He, with over 25 years of invaluable experience in the hospitality industry, he brings a wealth of knowledge and insights that would surely help the audience today. So he belongs to Opstrah Design. He's known for the approach to creating sustainable and operational friendly commercial kitchens, and they have received many awards. He has been part of World of Hospitality before, and I'm sure he'll be best to explain more on the topic and what Opstrah exactly does. Mr. Swan, please, all over to you.
Hi, good morning all. My name is Swarn, and I would like to thank World of Hospitality for giving me an opportunity to talk about food service design. But while we talk about design, it is very interesting to understand that where does the design come from? And doing these sessions, I do understand that it becomes very technical and people think that we know a lot. How we are different is we think every time, every project, every customer, every client, we work with different chefs, we work with food service equipment suppliers, manufacturers, and every time we learn. So although it has been named as Masterclass, but I don't see I am the master to be giving a masterclass because I feel that we are all a learner. With over 3 decades of experience, I wish somebody was there, when we were working, when we started working as stewards, chefs, trainees. There were people to teach us that what design means, what it can make our life easy. My career overall for almost about 28 years, I would say 3 decades, which I have spent, two-thirds of my career has been into operations. So, like from pulling those trolleys to cleaning those floors to, chopping, cutting onions, we understand the difficulty what commercial F&B operation goes through. And to start this, I will start with a story. I remember people who are a part of my team, they know that, they would have heard this story many times. This story is about when I was doing my industrial training, first 2, 3, 4 days in the kitchen. And the job which was been given to me was to slice onions, right? And believe you me, people who are there, I see a lot of chefs, students, a lot of people from food service industry. Believe you me, I was standing there and, slicing onion for 12 hours, for continuously, I don't know how many hours, how many days I was been given this job. I wish, and I'm talking about something like 1996, 97, almost 20, 28 years. I wish somebody would have told the managers that there is a slicing machine that can do the job. So, this job would not have been that difficult. Okay. The second story of mine is that when I was doing my first job in Delhi, I was a part of a quick service restaurant and I was a trainee manager there. So I remember my first week of my induction and training. I was being given the responsibility of the night shift and you've been asked to clean the floors, right? And while I'm cleaning the floor, I'm thinking that, why doesn't, when I'm squeezing water, why doesn't it go? It just goes towards the other side, right? I wish those architects and those designers would, I think, that how difficult it is that, when you're doing that kind of a job, this can be addressed by a very simple solution of, having a gradient on the floor and doesn't cost money. You just have to put a little bit of logic in design so that the water naturally flows towards the drain, right? With these two stories and the next 10, 15 years of working, realize that, what are the things that we can do? And of course, as much as people say many things, people will talk about it. But we we at Opstrah, we always thought about, what kind of challenges that we are addressing for a food service operator who's, who's working very, very hard. One of the toughest industry to work is the food service industry because, we are working there, standing on our foot, 10 to 12 hours a day, pushing trolleys, pulling carts, slicing onions, or maybe doing so many other activities that we are doing. And it is during that heat and smoke, it remains one of the most challenging atmosphere for people to work with. So what I've done here is that we have just tried giving, although this is not a very comprehensive story about, because when we go into technical, I can talk about for days. The senior people like me who are into the food service consulting business can talk about it for maybe years. That is that detailed a subject for you to understand, whereas the working height to a slope in the drain to having the right equipment, everything matters. Okay, so I've given some notes here, and what are the things that can address at a very high level. Lot many times being an operator, I know most of the blames have been given to operator. Okay, today the food is not good, or there was a pest in my food, or there is a smell in some parts of the kitchen or the restaurant that we are operating. But what we do not address it, that we do not address lot of these issues that can get addressed only by a design. Okay, there is a lot that goes into training, operations, creating standard operating procedures, doing auditing, etc. But in the design, it's like every building that gets designed, every food service that gets designed. So let's look at some of those challenges that we see while we talk about the food service design, right? And how do we address in the design? So now this is one of the most common problems all of us would have heard addressed. We see Instagram stories, some cockroaches come into some food and, it has made a story in the system, or maybe a food contamination which has happened in the food. But believe you me, cockroaches, pests, all of them have been living on Earth for many, 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 many years, centuries, or I don't know, ever since the evolution. So there's no way, we can kind of stop them from coming to inside, okay, or to come inside my kitchen at my home or wherever I'm working. But what we can do is, that is why pests, it is always says pest control, because you can only control it, you cannot eradicate it completely, right? And how do we eradicate it completely is by having the solutions in the design, okay? The cockroaches are not the cockroaches that born here. The cockroaches can come in the carton boxes. The cockroaches can come into your, carton boxes, your warehouses, because these carton boxes, when they follow many warehouses, dirty transport trucks and all that. What we have to do is that, first of all, we should not let, in the design itself, let the carton boxes come into my kitchen or into my kitchen operations. Because once I have stopped them there, what happens is I'm stopping the entry to a pest to my kitchen. Because once they've come in, they'll all settle down, make a nice family, and they'll keep growing. There's no way we can control them. Other thing that we can do in design is, or we do it all the time, that we let no gaps anywhere in the wall or on the floor. So the idea is that, we should not give them hiding spaces. Well, cockroaches will come, okay, but what we have to do is that, we don't have to give them the hiding grounds. They hide in your drains, they hide in those gaps which is there, they come through those carton boxes that we keep talking about. While doing the constructions, rodents are also another problems that we see in the kitchens. How we address or how we suggest, handling a rodent is not because of, doing an operations thing. I think while I'm doing the construction, okay, if I can stop the entries to the ducts, to those holes that we're creating construction site, then what happens is, because I am stopping the entry right from day one, and while I'm doing the construction, I'm not letting those rodents come inside, because once they've come inside, okay, they'll fall their way. There's no way that you'll be able to control them, because they know how to travel, they know how to maneuver. Our idea from very design, food service design perspective is to stop the entry right from the time of construction. Not when everything has been done up, they have found their ways, and we are doing what we call it is a stop gap management, okay, trying to address that. The other things that we miss out, it will be there in some of other slides also, that, these days a lot of people are doing open kitchen, no ducts, no false ceiling in the system. Now this creates another problem for us, okay? Now, as much as people are talking about, open kitchens and no ducts and all that, it becomes very difficult for us to control those cobwebs which are sitting in the corner. How do we clean them up? Okay, and similar challenge will come when there is a foreign particle in the food that comes. So in the design, if you're having a false ceiling, which is cleanable, washable, at a height, which we can clean, then what we are doing is we are not letting them fall into my, first form a family there, and then second to fall into my food. Also, how we can stop these pests are that having a proper grating system, proper drainage system in our the kitchens or the restaurants that we are creating, be it hotel, be it food court, food factory or anything else. And the most neglected part in our food service industry is the garbage management. Remember how many times we have gone to a mall and we are closing our nose just because we realize that there's a smell. If the garbage is not being maintained in a premises, whether it is about those dustbins we are not managing, if you're not temperature controlling it, so what happens is, like food, the garbage also, the bacteria multiply. Once they multiply, it attracts microbes, it multiply, it attracts more pests inside. So what I'm trying to not give it to my customer is actually I'm inviting them in, because I have not taken care of those preventions and the stoppages from their entry into my premises. Okay. Now, all these topics that you will find is very relevant. We find the foul smell in the food. How does that happen? So just to tell you, most of the food that we eat, raw materials, finished food is very hydroscopic in nature. Just to tell you, explain hydroscopicity is that food will absorb anything which is there in the air, whether it is the fresh air, whether it is humidity, whether it is the flavor in the air, or also the bad smell which is there in the air. And those bad smells are coming from my maybe not a proper garbage management, not doing a proper gritting system correct. Because all that smell which is coming from my drainage systems is coming and hitting my food. Maybe I would have created the best food in the world. But because of that smell, and the food is hydroscopic, it attracts that foul smell that comes into my food. Nobody purposely puts it up there. Right? Nobody wants their customers to be unhappy. Nobody wants their customers to be complaining about it. All we want in the food service industry to do well, to have a happy customer, to give a great food as a chefs and F&B operators that we create, and to be able to give a perspective. Explaining hydroscopic nature of the food is, if you have tasted a coffee in a ice cream parlor, it will taste vanilla to you. Nobody has put vanilla inside. Similarly, every inch of odor which is there, either from my drain, from my garbage management, everything is going inside my food. Idea is that, how do we segregate those areas? Idea is that, how do we temperature control those areas? The idea is how do we stop them from growing within my premises. That is the only way we will be able to have a happy customer, having a repeat customer, giving a great food and a great experience. We have spoken about garbage management. Now, the pests and the foul smell, they are interrelated with the garbage management. We also can talk about the poor drain systems. Drain systems are as such today that, drains are all the gases form, your water is going, your food is going. While they go, right, it goes and, keeps creating those gases which comes in. So what we do not do in design is that we are technically, as a food service consultant in the drainage design, we say we use something which is called as P-trap, right? What P-trap does is it creates a level of water, so that the gases, even if it is getting fermented, which it is, but it will not come out. So that, again, the food that I'm creating is a safe, a smell or a foul smell free food. And on top of that, since there are a lot of students here, the operational awareness, the team training on the safety, hygiene, garbage management is very important, because it doesn't matter the best of the design that we do, okay? It doesn't matter best of the infrastructure that has been created. But if the SOP is not in place, if the training is not been done, if the audit is not happening, everything will go for a toss. And it will not work in the favor of the food service operations. In operationally, I mean, we can ensure that there are no open bins in the system. The drain designs have been taken care of. The floorings that we are using are not a porous flooring, so that that it is absorbing the food as well as the water. So the idea is that we should be able to clean the floor. Right. I given the example of the mall garbage. How it creates. Similar scenario is there in a lot of hotels, at restaurants. Many a time we are creating lot many kitchens, food courts, community kitchens for various builders. And whenever we get an opportunity to educate, have a provisioning for garbage management, having a proper drainage system, having a proper ETP, effluent treatment plant system, so that all we are doing is that we are trying to ensure that our food that we are creating at my premises is safe to consume. Right? Now, the dust and chemical in the food, as I said, the food is hydroscopic in nature. So if I'm keeping my chemicals next to the food, okay, it absorbs the food and it creates a food poisoning. Right? Somebody can die eating that food. So a dedicated, very cautiously chosen area has to be given for chemical storage, chemical uses, proper training has to be given. When we are talking about the dust falls from the top most of the time. Nobody puts a foreign particle into your food. We allow no paint in the kitchen cooking system. We say that tile it up. When you tile it up, what happens is, when we are not tiling it up, the smell of the chemical which is there in the paint goes into your food. Again, it creates a contamination. When we are not tiling it up, maintaining it becomes very difficult because you cannot clean it. Every part of the kitchen or the back of the house, should be in a way that we should be able to clean it operationally and with so much of an ease that it is not creating further trouble for the operator, whoever is operating it. How do we stop the cross-contamination or the food poisoning? Is drain design, stopping the cross-contaminations, veg, non-veg segregation, ensure that one of the, as much as we know, we don't know, but I'm just adding some points here. Some of the food, which is good for me, it may not be good for the other person. Like allergen, a lot of food, especially nuts, create allergy to people who are allergic to nuts. A lot of seafoods is one of the biggest contaminants. Dairy, while we all enjoy milk and dairy and curd, not every food, not everybody can digest that food. So proper separation while I'm storing, while I'm processing, while I'm prepping, while I'm finishing, and while I'm doing my finishing food. Till that time, we have to take care of that. And whenever we are using allergen in the food, which is soya, nuts, seafood, we must declare in our menu if it is possible. And I say, why I'm saying it is possible, it must be declared, because that is how I'm going to protect my customers from getting sick after eating my food. Right? Of course, SOP and awareness has to be created. Food is also about, as much as it is about hygiene, as much as it is about how it is being cooked, refrigeration plays a major role into how the food is being preserved. So if people who know food science, 5 to 65 degrees centigrade is called food danger zone. So the temperature of the refrigerant or the food, I would say, is to be maintained less than 5 degrees centigrade. Frozen has to be at minus 18. The chilled food has to be at 2 to 3 degrees centigrade. And if any food that has been heated has to be above 65 degrees centigrade. This is the only way how we are going to stop that, the food poisoning or, people falling sick after eating the food. And for this, there should be a special awareness program that has to be created. In the design, what we do is we calculate every inch of the food which is getting stored or which is getting cooked, because it is not about just putting a refrigerator. Is this refrigerator enough for me, or is it the right refrigerator for me? People, a lot of us, even operators, they do not know a difference between holding equipments, chilling equipments. A lot of refrigerators, we say we are going to keep it cold. No. Refrigerators or freezers, they are only holding equipments. They are going to hold the temperature of the food. They are not going to chill your food. Over a period of time, maybe it will decrease the temperature of the food. That's not going to help, because the longer the food stays in the danger zone, the worse the food becomes by the time it hits the plate. Accidents in the kitchen, can be designed by, can be addressed by having a proper space, like how you see people are struggling to reach out. Some equipments have been placed in a way so that they are unable to operate, different functions and colliding at one place. So you have to look at all the angles to ensure that accidents are not happening. Slippery floors is one of the most common problems that happens. People fall on the floor. How it gets stopped? By a simple mechanism of having one size pick. Don't let the water get stagnant at one place. Have a system so that there is a default degree of water decline which is going towards the drain. Second system, how it gets created is that having an anti-skid vitrified flooring. Then what happens is that the chances of people slipping on those floors are lesser. See, bars, restaurants, kitchens are areas which always there will be something on the floor falling. But it should be easier to clean. When I'm cleaning it up and I'm giving the atmosphere to people to work better, they'll be able to work better and we'll be able to avoid accidents. Poor lighting is one of the major concerns, how they cut their fingers and, some things that you don't see. So the idea of a kitchen is to think in everything from a very design perspective. What do you mean by design perspective? That's why I've added design, that everything starts with a problem. Every solution starts with a problem. But unless we know the problem, all we know the food is bad. All we know that we've lost a customer. All we know there is a pest in the food. All we know there is a dust in the food. All we know that there is accidents happening in the kitchen, but we don't know how it is happening. So unless we know why, we'll not be able to address how. And then keep asking those questions. We keep asking those questions when we are designing, so that we give a safe and safe kitchen for the operators. Fire is one of the most common challenges that we see. Recently, I think somewhere in Kormangla there was a fire because they kept a cylinder in the kitchen. Just recently, like about a couple of months ago, I heard that. They don't have a proper gas leakage detection system in the scheme. So that what happens is, there could be a chance of a leakage. But if it gets detected, it will be solved. Now, talking about having adequate fire measures in the system is having a fire separation system within wherever I'm cooking. Oil and water, they are not friends. We should not be planning in a way so that, there are chances of oil falling into my fire, because if that catches fire, there's no way you can control it. Cleaning off my, designing a duct that is for us is to see that, it is getting clean on a proper, regular basis. Also, and there are systems which can auto-clean your ducts, right? If that happens, I think is one of the best scenarios that we're talking about. But those systems comes at a cost, and not every kitchen can afford that kind of a cost. So then we look at a lot of operational, see that, how do we see that those, operationally we are equipped to manage all that. One of the biggest fire creators are those grease that gets accumulated on my ducts and the hoods, the way it goes. And if that catches fire, because everything is carbon which is getting accumulated, and if that catches fire, there is no way you will be able to eradicate that fire. I think in Carlton Center, 2002, Bangalore, the building which is closed for I don't know how many years, 20, 21 years, the fire was caught up in one of those ducts, right? Because there's no proper cleaning mechanism that was in place for us to clean the ducts. So a kitchen, F&B operations, as it is tough, it is dangerous, it is challenging. We as in planners, you as an operators have to go and ensure that your food service employees are safe while they're working there. That is the priority. That should always be the priority of the designers and the operators and the owners and the brands or whoever they are. So we have talked about grease accumulation, gas design, work spacing, equipment placement. As I said, is very, very important. Now, keeping all these problem statements in mind, that okay, these are the problems that we face. Now we see how do we apply design thinking into. Okay, sorry, one topic I missed. This was about smoke and heat. We go to a lot of places where the smoke is coming out of the kitchen. So that what has happened is technically the air balancing which is there in the kitchen is not right. So we have not done the right air balancing in the kitchen. And so technically what we do is we calculate, you have to calculate how much of smoke that you're emitting, and you have to supply it with a treated fresh air and undersupply it by about 10-15%. So we say supply 85% of treated fresh air so that there is a negative pressure in the kitchen. And while we are creating the negative pressure, what happens is all the exhaust that goes out, all that gets addressed in the design itself. Now in the design thinking, whenever we design, what is it that we look at when we design? So a kitchen that we design, of course, it has to be user-friendly. Now when we talk about user-friendly, it has to be, there are two users of my kitchen or my back of the house or my operations. One is a customer, which is at the top of it. And of course, my employees who are there working there. So for the customer, how user-friendly that place is, how safe that place is, how easier it is for me to navigate into the place becomes very critical in the design thinking. Safety remains at the priority of every design thinking, whether you are designing a building or you're designing a road or you're designing a kitchen. Same logic applies. And from a very promoter perspective, so we don't believe in just adding equipments. Right? The kitchens or the back of the house or the restaurant, the food service has to be ROI driven. It is not about adding equipment. It's not about, you have to see the load of the food that you have to prepare, what you're preparing, how much you're preparing, how much time you want that to be prepared, how long you're storing, and then look at the equipments. Then look at the square feet spaces that you're giving to every activity. Then only it will become a ROI driven kitchen. Otherwise, it is not about the size of the kitchen that I create. If the size of the kitchen is big, I know so every square feet for which we are either paying a rent or we are buying it out, we are paying money for that, and every equipment that we are doing. So it's like this, every square feet that I add into my restaurant, every square feet that I add to my kitchen, every square feet that I add to my store, please remember we have to clean that place, we have to maintain that place, we have to pay a rent for that place, we have to water that place, we have to do all that, and everything is a cost. So that is why ROI driven kitchen becomes top of the priority, because somebody who is investing in a kitchen or a food service, of course it's a business for him. Right? So it has to make sense for him to invest that kind of money that he is investing. So when you talk about the safety, so we say safety of how many people? Safety of food, safety of the people who are working there, and of course it is for safety of the infra. Like how I give an example of that fire that got caught up in Cartel Center. It is an infra. Right? So how do we ensure that it is one restaurant that got fire, but the entire building is closed? So I don't know how many crores of loss it would have been. So like that, infra, every single inch of our kitchen has to be safe. It has to be user friendly. It has to be environment friendly. That we keep missing it out. One of the biggest challenge that we see is we don't think about water wastage. We don't think about putting a bigger exhaust system which may we not need, because every equipment, every space, every water is an energy guzzler. And then when I am consuming energy, that means I am putting a pressure in the environment. So that the designs also have to become safe for people, of course, safe for the customers, of course, but also it has to be safe for the environment as well. Lot of refrigerants, you will be surprised, including air conditioners that we use have a very high GWP, global warming percentage. Now, when you are having whatever air conditioning that we are getting, there is a system which is working, and that system is working on a refrigerant, and that refrigerant is causing damage to your ozone layer. So now there are new gases which is common. R290 is there for smaller systems that we can use for your refrigeration. Whatever small bit that we can play in reducing that impact on the atmosphere, we must play that. Whatever water that we can save in the systems. The simplest we can do is, without investing too much of money on putting those expensive faucets and all that, we can put aerators in the water, so that we are controlling the uses of the water. Right? So the safety infra, yes. Refrigerants we're talking about. Every equipment is consuming energy. Right? So please be mindful about what equipment we are choosing. And while we are choosing, also see whether it is really important for me to have that equipment. right? Or can we manage within the equipments that we can manage? And for that, a lot of logical thinking has to be done. A lot of calculations have to be done in tons, in kgs, in whatever productions that you're doing. And then look at that what solutions you're giving is right or wrong. Of course, the kitchen that we talk about has to be user friendly. It works in a flow, how you receive your food, where do you store them, how do you wash them, where do you prep them. And please remember all these activities, although I'm saying in a flow, but they're independent activities, although related and important. If this cycle is not working correct, your entire back of the house will not working correct. The more people go on to and fro for doing an activity, the more clashes of two different departments, two different function happens, we are wasting more man hour in doing the same work. So the idea is to reduce the man hour, increase the efficiency in the kitchen. Of course, for the customers, the space that we create has to be engaging, especially in the hotels, restaurants. People pay a lot of attention to, and they also spend a lot of money in having great, stylish looking restaurants. But we don't look at they do not look at the functionality of those spaces. One of those examples are how we design our bar counters today. I've seen that those bar counters are like this height. I don't feel comfortable there. Average Indian height is 5'8", something like that. 5'7", 5'8". And so the bar counter also has to be a international height that we call it 1050, about 42 inches. If we understand it that, how these counters have been designed so that people should be able to communicate. Like there's a bartender standing or a chef cooking for me. I should be able to sit down there, converse with him. Right? If the heights are more, I don't feel comfortable. I should be able to eat my food on that counter. Right? The ergonomics between the counter and the bar stools, like at times it is like this. All that has to be designed in a way, especially in QSR where we expect people to be looking at the menu panel. We design in a way so that the customer can't even see that. Right? So we believe in the eye contact. The best of the eye contact that we can do with a customer while cooking food, while making my beverages or the cocktails or whatever I'm doing, the best will effect, because all these points are not dispensing points. So yes, of course, functionality wise it is, but all of them are communication parts for both sides. I should be able to speak, say hi, how are you doing, whatever, and the guest also feels comfortable being there. Right? Now, I am a big advocate of, in the restaurants, to have a live kitchen. Right? I don't believe in a system whereas people want to work behind the counters and say, I want to show my kitchen. I said, no. What's scaring you? The more you will show your kitchen, the more engagement it brings, the more activities it shows. Because remember, we are eating from all our senses, not only from our. So what we see is what we eat. That is how we pay attention to the presentation that we are doing on the platter. The more activities that we see, our ears are seeing that, okay, some food is being cooked or some drama is happening. I call it a drama in a more sense, because everything is marketing, right? And though more drama we do, the more we connect with our customers. The more sense of freshness it brings into the overall scheme of the food service design that we're talking about. And remember, a couple of my friends are not here, who we gave some these anecdotes, and he did those changes in their drawings, and they've seen their efficiency in the one of the ice cream parlors increasing by 200%. Engagement also reduces your wait time. Although maybe that's time taking for food making, drink making is the same, but I see the engagement, I'm okay. I'm seeing some activity in front of me. So let's say if I'm going, I am some live cooking I'm seeing happening. So my senses are busy there watching that guy making the food. Okay, so whatever wait time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, while it is essential for the food to be made, but my wait time, once I'm engaged, it is becoming lower and lower. So I'm a great advocate of having a live kitchen and these communication channels opening in a restaurant. And all that comes as a part of the design. So we don't shy away from giving these feedbacks to the interior designers who are mostly doing these kind of designs. User-friendly we've spoken about. And I think I've already spoken about the ROI-driven kitchen. The kitchens are not, it's not only about adding equipments. it is about adding the right kind of equipment that I need. It's about adding those right systems that we need, and everything has to be done as per the load. So these questions people come to us ask. There are a lot of central kitchens that we are doing right now, and people come and ask that, oh, 10,000 square feet is good enough for us to do a kitchen. The answer is that we don't know that. I say, how do you don't know that? You're a consultant. I said, you have to tell me what food you're cooking, how much food you're cooking, how much of storage that you're looking at, and then I'll be able to tell you. I can apply a thumb rule, but the thumb rule doesn't apply to everything. Okay, you have to get into detail to see that, how do you save every single inch of the square feet that you can save for the customer, because every square feet is expensive. Paying rents, doing it up, doing the interiors, finishing it up, and things like that. And we are also we are encouraging more and more equipment manufacturers to start manufacturing in India those quality equipments that we all this while there are a lot of people who are here, right? So we promote local sourcing, local producing of the kitchen manufacturing. So we are encouraging people, the manufacturers, to start producing everything that you can do in India, and all the support. I also have taken this up with our food consultants fraternity to promote and encourage the Indian manufacturers to come up. So, as much as we talk about sustainability, sustainability is not only about it is not only about saving water. It's not only about saving your energy. It is also about saving your giving business to your local people who are there doing that business, working hard. That way, I'm not sending my hard-earned dollars to whichever dollars or euros or wherever, whichever company it is going. We would love to see these systems. And also the idea is, by this way, I reduce the cost of the customer, right? So when I'm reducing the cost of the customer, it creates a kind of a win-win-win scenario. His capex goes down. He remains more happy. Maybe he'll open one more food joint by saving that money there. And that's all our job is. So this is very important, easy to maintain finishes. So we don't recommend finishes which are very difficult to maintain, very difficult to clean. So have systems whereas it is easier for you to clean up, it is easier for you to maintain, not having those systems which is very, very difficult for you to maintain. Of course, on the safety side, I think I did miss out, having the right electrical fittings, LPG systems, and commercial ones are important, because those are the places which creates a sense of safety in the overall scheme. I think that's all from our side. Any questions if you have? You can write me an email if you have questions. Somebody wants to ask a question now, welcome. You can follow me on LinkedIn. You will see these updates every week. I run a weekly article
Anybody has any
which is
question?
towards making restaurants successful. Thank you. Any questions? Every time you have to ask questions.
Hi, nothing like having a masterclass with you. But I do have a question. While we set up places based on your tenders, we do get this big question of, is fire suppression required? And is it mandatory? Should we have it? Can we avoid it? That's the question, because also of the cost that implies. What do you have to say on that?
If you ask me, towards the safety you must have. Okay, so it is always like this. So we always see things from what is the most important thing that you should do towards the safety of the people. I mean, what is the most important thing than saving a life of a person, or saving the infrastructure? And by any which way we can save that life, even if although the NBC National Building Code 2016 asks all the buildings which is above 4 floors and I think 3 floors and above to have a mandatory fire separation system in the scheme. And while we are talking about the fire separation system, I think you should do more than fire separation system, right? Having more sprinkler systems in your dining areas, having more sprinklers in your systems. Don't try to avoid the safety questions. Just do, no doubt about it. Similarly, if I'll ask a question that can I save money by having a sharp edges in my kitchen table? Of course, no, because those are the people. using that equipment, I can cut my hand or do something else. So safety-wise, there's just no compromise. Fire separation is a must, even though the law doesn't say that.
Okay.
You must have it. Right? Imagine I'm working in the kitchen, you're working in the kitchen, all of us are working in the kitchen. There's a fire. What will you do? You're looking for the cylinder? Run away. Let the system do the job. Thank you very much for being patient. And sorry if I was boring. I tried to keep this session as interactive I could have by giving live anecdotes, giving my own examples. And we are learning every day. Right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Swarn Kamal. He's supported our organization for many years now. And we would like to felicitate him as a thank you, a token of appreciation. I would request my colleague, Mr. Pratik, on stage to do the honors. A huge round of applause for him. He has shared a lot of insightful information here. And if anybody wants, more information, and I'm sure he is willing to share the presentation or can you with. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kamal. Thank you very much. Our next session is on housekeeping, and we have got around 13, 14 executive housekeepers from different hotel brands in Bengaluru. We will start in another 5 minutes. We also have a small talk by Ms. Bharti Kamath, who is a veteran in the housekeeping industry. Thank you. See you in 5 minutes, everyone.